Welcome to Tuesday Talk. This is Project Open's podcast aimed at bringing the topics of addiction, treatment, recovery, which are often stigmatized topics or hush hush swept underneath the rug. Our goal with this podcast series is to get these to the forefront of local conversations. We also like to focus on innovative ideas and teams and communities who are doing really cool approaches to making the areas that we live in better, safer, stronger, and together. And today we have with us Mr. Dan Martin. Dan, welcome to Tuesday Talks.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Dan, we are really excited about the topic today. It's kind of a higher level topic for our viewers out there today. We're looking at a new Lenox community, which is in Will County, close to Chicago suburbs. And they have built a community coalition that has multiple subgroups, multiple communities, a very robust, mature operating structure. Dan is the safety community coordinator for that group. And we're going to dive into that today and kind of, ultimately give our listeners a framework on how to build a community coalition. But before we get into that, Dan, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit of background on yourself to our viewers.
Sure, I'd be happy to. My background is in law enforcement. I've spent 30 years in law enforcement. I retired a few years ago from law enforcement, and I held a variety of positions over two departments over the course of those 30 years. And I just feel very fortunate to continue on. After my career in law enforcement, I can continue on and serve the community in injury prevention and public safety.
So, I want to kind of touch on your career in law enforcement. On these talks, we've had people in law enforcement before. I always ask them, what was your experience in law enforcement with individuals who are struggling with, brain health or substance use disorder? And any stories to share?
I mean, unfortunately, it's a thing that law enforcement has dealt with for many years. It's went through different stages, where folks, agencies have concentrated on, arresting individuals. It's sort of transitioned over the years to more seeing it as a disease, if you will, and trying to reach out and help those individuals that are struggling with addiction. So I've seen it from many different perspectives over the course of 30 years. Working a gang unit, working a multi-agency SWAT team. And then I've also seen it up into recent years where we've tried to create programs where we can get individuals that are struggling with addiction to seek help. And we've tried to facilitate that in many ways.
I think you nailed it, that transition from arrest and kind of handling the symptoms versus trying to work upstream and treating the individual. Here in our local community, we've got a pretty robust safe passage police deflection program, which is starting to become very popular across the country, and a new model which I think I'm really excited about. Our little claim to fame over here in Dixon was it was the second police deflection program in the country, actually. Spearheaded by the police chief and sheriff, and we got the template from the group that started out in, I believe, Massachusetts. So, and that's really helped shift the paradigm. People have been available to come and get help versus, I think it genuinely saves lives. So I thought that shift was huge in law enforcement, and I'm glad that your department is progressive on that stance.
Yeah, for sure. That's great to hear, and we do that here as well.
Any success stories you have out of that program, or any data? I know you've been removed for a little bit, so I'm putting you on the spot there.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I think we were talking a little bit before we came on air. We were talking about our Narcan training. We've trained over 800, 900, something like that in Narcan. And we've had people literally that have been trained on a Thursday night receive their Narcan nasal spray kit. And then over the weekend, they've run across, a drug overdose, opioid overdose, and actually utilized the training and the nasal spray kit to save a life. So it's great to hear that, Narcan is working in our community. We've had a lot of saves that are getting reported to the county here, through law enforcement, as well as, the fire service as well.
Yeah, that's a huge success story. And you told me the number. We got to show. I mean, you guys have trained over 800 people in Narcan administration. which is amazing. Here locally in our community, Leoga Whiteside counties, we've surveyed every county facility and every major building if they've got Narcan on hand, if they're interested in supply, if they want training, and we're working through a lot of the agencies to try to get them trained in Narcan administration and have Narcan supply on hand. So, something so simple as that can save a life, and I think it's important that we have it readily available, much like AEDs and CPR kits everywhere. So, kudos to you guys for that success.
One of the things that we're really proud of, as well as, and I'm sure around your area you have the same thing, but we started an unwanted medication take back program back in 2009. And I forget what the number is, but it's got to be upwards of about 10,000 pounds of meth that we've taken in to date. And we're real proud of that program through our police department. That's a 365-day a year program, where our residents can come in and drop off their unwanted meds. And, if you think about it from a broader perspective, those are medications that aren't ending up in the garbage and subsequently into landfills. Those are medications that aren't getting flushed down the toilet and ended up in the water system. And certainly those are meds that are also not finding their way into teenagers' hands to be used, for different purposes. So real proud of the program. We also partner with the DEA. We try to do the medication take back program through the DEA in spring and fall as well. So getting those unwanted, unused medications out of the homes is super important.
I think that was kind of highlighted. There's a international or national drug take back day or medicine take back day. I think it's the 24th of April, maybe, or August. I can't remember exactly. So we highlighted all of the areas that, all of the stations and police stations that have it. And you nailed it. It's the very important thing is that it's not getting in the hands of other individuals who may misuse it. Because when looking at the Illinois Youth Survey, the data was showing that the trend is increasing, that it's easy, that teenagers are reporting that it's easy to get meds from the medicine cabinet or from their parents when they're not looking, or that they're taking meds that aren't prescribed to them. So medicine take back is huge in preventing that. Kudos to you guys again. And any recommendations on how to continue to promote and advertise for that?
We do a variety. We use our website. We use different social media platforms. We have a newsletter that goes out to all of our residents, quarterly with all of our water bills. We try to work with local media, and again through our Safe Community Coalition, which I know we're going to talk about shortly. We have about 60 organizations that we partner with, which is kind of a force multiplier for us. So when we want to promote something, we have the platforms of 60 organizations to help us out.
I think that's a perfect transition. So let's get into it. So background in law enforcement, which then a lot of people retire right off into the sunset. You said, no, I can't do that. I got to still stay involved. So talk about that from law enforcement to the coalition.
Sure. We've had the coalition in place. Our first meeting was back in 2009. And I was given an opportunity to lead the coalition. And in our first year or so, we spent time growing out our organization, growing out the coalition, establishing new partnerships, new stakeholders. We worked on our application for accreditation that first year. We did a big community survey of injury prevention programs that were prevalent in the community, so that we knew exactly what we as a community were offering in terms of injury prevention programs. So the thing of it that's super important is the injury data. We get that information through the police department, the fire department, health department, coroner's office. And basically the injury data has driven what we do. And over the years, we've utilized that data to form task groups. So we have a domestic violence prevention task group. We have substance use prevention task group, suicide prevention and awareness task group, motor vehicle traffic safety task group, older adult falls prevention task group, and emergency preparedness task group. So under those task groups, we run a variety of programs, educational programs for the community. These could be 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 4 hours, 8 hours. It depends on what the topic is. And then all of our task groups have a big annual signature event, if you will, that we piggyback on national campaigns like International Overdose Awareness Day or
Yep.
National Suicide Prevention Day, things like that. So we're
I
very
think that,
proud of our coalition and its partners and all that
yeah.
we've accomplished.
I think that's actually where you and I met, was at your substance use group. They had a big event, and then and I believe it was on Overdose Awareness Day. And it was that was an amazing event. You had so many vendors, so many groups, a lot of great information. You had the uh, hidden in plain sight trailer outside. It was super engaging. But before we talk more about those coalitions, I wanted to know. You said it started in 2009. Was there any like event, or was there anything that like caused this to happen, or was it just something that organically grew out of nothing? I suppose.
Sure, good question. So we have a gentleman that lived in town. He still lives in town. That worked for the National Safety Council, and he approached our mayor with this initiative called Safe Communities America. And the mayor really liked the idea. He shared it with our village board, and they passed a resolution that we wanted to become an accredited safe community, in that we would, follow injury data and, develop programs and initiatives that would reduce or eliminate, injuries and deaths in our community. So that's how we got started. So the National Safety Council was a huge help for us, a huge mentor. We actually went through our first accreditation and then another accreditation 5 years later, and actually we're up for reaccreditation this year. Right about now, I'm actually just starting the application.
Nice.
So the National Safety Council was a big push for Safe Communities America. They stepped away from the initiative a few years ago, and it formed a not-for-profit organization. So Safe Communities America now is not-for-profit, with a lot of great organizations that still believe in that mission of forming coalitions in the interest of preventing injuries.
Yeah. Okay. So then that makes a lot of sense. Usually there's a champion, but you had someone literally in your community from the National Safety Council. So that was
Right.
a nice little catalyst. Is your group formalized? Is it like a 501c3, or does it have MOUs and governing structures?
Yeah, our organization, our coalition, the Village of New Lenox is the lead agency.
Okay.
And, like I said, my position as Safe Community Coordinator, I kind of lead the coalition. And, we've gotten pretty formalized, pretty structured. We have a steering committee. We have the task groups that I've mentioned. We have our big coalition meetings that we do. So basically our meeting schedule is such that, we'll meet every other month. We'll have a steering committee meeting. And then a week later, we'll have all of our task group meetings. And then a couple of weeks later, usually the last Wednesday of the month, we'll meet as a full coalition.
Nice.
We'll bring in a guest speaker and talk about something in the area of public safety, injury prevention, things like that. So it's nice to have all the partners. There's so many different side benefits, if you will, not only injury prevention and safety, but just finding out what's going on in the community. When we've got 60 organizations in and around New Lenox that participate, and you make those great contacts, it's nice to know what's going on with all these other organizations, the events that they're having and things like that. So it's a great way to really be in touch with the community.
Yes, it sounds like it. And I want to touch on the 60 organizations and their makeup. But before we get to that, I mean, just broader question. You guys have a mission, and you guys have a vision, and you mind sharing?
We do. All that is on it's on our website. But essentially our mission is kind of what I mentioned, is that, we study injury data for the purpose of creating educational programs for the community to reduce or prevent injuries and deaths in and around our community. So that's kind of our mission, and kind of our vision is to be the safest community in Illinois. And I know we've got a lot of great communities that want to have that same vision, but that's our vision as well.
No, I love that. And so you mentioned 60 orgs, Project Open. We're not that mature yet. We've got in the mid-30s. We've got courts, law enforcement, probation, transportation, education, hospitals, behavioral health, social services, food pantries. Guessing similar makeup. Any other ones that any other sectors that I didn't mention?
Yeah, I mean, we have our schools, our elementary schools are on board, our high schools. We've got a couple public high schools here in the community. obviously police department, fire department, and a lot of private organizations that specialize in each of these areas that kind of align with our task groups. So we've got a lot of great organizations that fall under suicide prevention and awareness, that fall under substance use prevention, and so on. So usually when someone comes to the coalition, it's because, by trade, by what they do professionally, is what they're aligned with. And for me, spending 30 years in law enforcement, I know enough about all of this, but I'm not an expert per se. So it's very humbling for me when we sit around the table and talk about different issues that are affecting our community, and the great, brainstorming that goes on to try to create some of these events and some of the activities that we do. I'm just humbled and honored to be a part of it, because we just have some great people that participate.
Yeah, I mean, so that's just amazing. I'm sure you probably wish you might have had this coalition when you were in law enforcement, just to have that pulse on the community, but then have all the great minds collaborating and sharing, and probably addressing barriers, lifting barriers on community problems. And I think it all starts with passion, and I can definitely sense that passion in you. And I've met a number of your individuals on the substance use team that, I mean, were directly affected, loved ones, and the room was so full of passion and enthusiasm around making the addressing the topic, making the community safer. So, if you don't mind, can we jump into each group? Let's save substance use group for last, but kind of let me know what's the group's overarching goal, what kind of members are on that, and then what successes or current activities are they working on, upcoming initiatives, just a little bit of a high level summary of each group.
Sure. So domestic violence prevention, that's one that just formed in 2021. So it's about a year old now.
Okay.
And we've got some great community partners, Trinity Services, the New Lenox Police Department. We've got Guardian Angel Community Services and their groundwork program, which is a domestic violence program, and many others. And we have been looking at data in the community with regard to domestic violence. We've studied the data through the police department. And one of the things that kind of drives us is the fact that we look at calls for service, and about 35% of those calls for service in the area of domestic violence and domestic abuse involve teenagers.
Really?
So we thought that was significant. So that data helps guide us to different programs. We just had an event a couple months ago. It was in support of, it was in October, and it was in support of Domestic Violence Month. And it was an event called One Thing. And we had a great speaker from Guardian Angel Groundwork. And she did a wonderful job talking about domestic violence and different warning signs and different ways, resources and ways, that people that find themselves in that situation can find help. So we're real proud of that group. Again, it's about a year old. And then we have.
If you don't mind, can I jump in there? Talk to me about what's the background behind One Thing.
One Thing was just an event that we wanted to reach out to the community and give them information and resources about domestic violence prevention. So we just wanted to, we did a virtual event, and it was pretty well attended. Is
there a hidden message behind the One Thing, or is this like a theme that you have recurring, that you just like are sharing one thing with the community?
It was one thing: speak up, speak out. So kind of like one. One thing, speak up, speak out about, domestic violence and domestic violence prevention. And it was just very, very informative. A lot of these summaries about some of these events that I talk about, they're in our newsletter. I can share links with you and things like that. But we write these quarterly newsletters. So for every event, essentially, that we do, we try to summarize and capture the event in our newsletter. So a lot of the stuff that we'll talk about has been captured in our newsletters.
Okay, and that's interesting. Domestic violence is, I think, starting to get a lot of recognition. We have the YWCA here locally that does a lot of work over there, and now there's billboards in English and in Spanish, and that whole thing of speak up. It's so stigmatized, and it's such a difficult topic to address. What challenges do you guys have in addressing this?
Well, we've tried to passively get information out to the community because it's something hard. And again, statistically, obviously, you can have men as victims, you can have women as victims. Statistically, there's more women than there are men. So we try to get a lot of the information out passively. So just recently, we went around town to about 25 businesses and dropped off flyers at a lot of nail salons, hair salons, boutiques, things like that, trying to get the information in the hands of primarily women that may be going through a domestic violence situation and not know where to turn. So I think the challenge is a lot of people, a lot of women in particular, do not want to come forward with the fact that they're going through a domestic abuse, domestic violence situation. So, therefore, we're trying to create these events that are a little bit more passive,
Hmm.
where we can get information into the hands of women in particular, so that they know where they can find resources and find help.
I think that is the right approach to creating awareness, but being more subtle about it because people oftentimes don't want to talk about it, or they're worried, or they make excuses for their partner, and I think that was a well formed group. What's the next newest group? I suppose.
Uh, the rest of them are about the same. They've been around for for a little while. Obviously, we talked about substance use prevention. We have some great partners, Rosecrans. We've got the Will County Executive's Office, Dr. Burke, the Substance Use Initiatives Director, Silver Oaks Behavioral Hospital,
Hmm.
Linden Oaks. I mean, the list goes on. Just tremendous partners.
Yeah.
Narcan training. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. Narcan training is one of the big initiatives that Substance Use Prevention Task Group works on. You spoke a little bit about Your Light Still Shines. That's our signature event that we have in support of International Overdose Awareness
Very
Day.
powerful.
And we try to do a lot of things. We try to bring organizations in, all of our partners and more, to provide informational tables for people that come to the event. We can have people walk around, talk with folks, pick up literature, things like that. You mentioned we had the Hidden in Plain Sight trailer, both Hero, which is another one of our great partners, the Heroin Epidemic Relief Organization, as well as the Will County Sheriff's Department. They had both their Hidden in Plain Sight trailers out there. Just very enlightening, again, hiding places, different uses, paraphernalia, things that, again, it's just amazing. Many law enforcement officers will go through these trailers
Right.
and not recognize all the new trends and all the different paraphernalia that's out there and the way that teens in particular are hiding different types of drugs and such. And then we have a big memorial section, as you saw, for those.
Yes.
We
Very
honor
meaningful.
those that have lost a loved one to addiction, for those that that are there. Big section with that, banners on the wall, pictures of just young kids that had a whole life ahead of them and have
Mhm.
lost their life to a drug overdose. And
It
then
was a very, as I remember it, it was very powerful. It was sombering, but you had the candles and the lights and the pictures and the faces, and putting a face to the addiction, and it was a very powerful message with no words. you
right.
know.
And that ties into the message of the event. Your light still shines. It's like we're still remembering those that lost their struggle to addiction. And a couple more components of that event, obviously, is the Narcan training. Dr. Burke has done a wonderful job for us doing the Narcan training. And then usually we'll bring in a panel of speakers,
Hmm.
maybe someone that has lost a loved one to addiction, or maybe someone that has struggled with addiction or is in a better place. Usually we'll bring in some expert, if you will, in, substance use, addiction, just a variety. Sometimes we'll do at that event, we'll do a panel. Sometimes we'll do a main speaker. But that's been a huge success for us. And then again, with all of our partnerships with many of these organizations that participate throughout the year, we'll put on different events. We've been able to overcome COVID. So a lot of the events that we've been doing have been virtually. We're trying to get back to doing in-person events. but a lot of our events will bring in someone that's got great information on substance use prevention, recent trends, things like that, just to enlighten the general community, enlighten parents, depending on what our audience, our target audience is. So a lot of great work gets done in that substance use prevention task group.
Yeah, I remember that night so well. I met a gentleman. I'll just say his first name, Jason, and he told me something that literally on the drive home, we came and we started a project immediately, and we are a few weeks away from opening our first sober living home, going through the zoning committee. But it was at that meeting where Jason told me. I asked, "What was your most important thing in your path to successful recovery?" Was it detox? Was it residential? He goes, I went to detox many times. I did residential many times, but it was sober living home that helped get me, on my feet, accountability. And we're about to go to a zoning committee hearing and hopefully get a beautiful big house zoned and then get it credentialed and start sober living. And I still have connections from that, and I still email folks that I met that one event just one time. So it was huge in helping us kind of decide. I mean, your state's attorney is involved in sober living homes over there. Like, that's huge. I came back immediately, emailed our state's attorney and says, hey, they're running and operating them. What can we do? And he, started to try to connect and get some balls rolling. So I got to give you kudos. I just went to one event one time, and it helped shape a lot of the way, that we think and do things in certain areas. So
those are really good points. And I know exactly who you're talking about. I know who Jason is. And one of the neat things with him and many others is they've been able to turn their lives around, and now they're in a much better place where they can help others.
Yes,
which is always a great thing to see. So, and then like you said, just making the connections. The event, obviously you can go and you can dispose of your unwanted medications. You can learn things from the hidden in plain sight trailer. You can learn things from the panelists, but just making those connections, walking around the room. And talking with people can be, very, very beneficial.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we had members when we met members over there. I think your event was in maybe August or really early September. We had RecoverCon here locally, kind of a similar idea. Just we had speakers from all over the country come and talk about clinically related things. We had a room doing lived experience, and members that we met at Your Light Shine came and spoke at our lived experience room, which was one of our most well attended sessions. And it's so uplifting to hear the success stories and then give a framework to other people who might be struggling. And then folks like Jason turning around and starting, HA groups and just helping people get back on their path. It's very, very inspiring.
For sure. And like suicide prevention, that's another one of our task groups, kind of the same thing. I mean, we do question, persuade, refer. That's a 90-minute program, for suicide prevention and awareness. We do an 8-hour mental health first aid. We've got a brand new 4-hour program called Safe Talk. And all of these are taught by our friends at Serotonin Center. Gia Washington in particular, she's our liaison to our coalition, and she teaches many of these classes. And
wow.
I'd have to look at the numbers, but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have been through QPR and mental health first aid, and now more recently Safe Talk. So those are some of our signature programs with that task group. Again, we have a big signature event with that task group as well. Usually we'll do it in May. Mental Health Awareness Month, or we'll do it in October, Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. But that one is called A Pathway to Hope and Healing. And what's neat with our task groups and all of our different classes and workshops and events is we kind of learn things from each other. So what goes really well for the substance use prevention task group, whatever model they might put on a program or an event with, the suicide prevention awareness task group or one of the other task groups may use that and back and forth. So we've got a similar model, the Pathway to Hope and Healing, where, we have informational tables where people can come. We have the breakout sessions. So if our behavioral health professionals can come to the breakout sessions and earn CEUs. We usually do a little dinner break, have everybody grab a bite to eat, network, get to know each other, exchange business cards, things like that. And then we'll do a panel. And much like with Your Light Still Shines, A Pathway to Hope and Healing, more geared towards suicide prevention awareness, will have a panel, maybe someone that has lost a loved one to suicide, or someone that has tried to complete suicide but didn't, and turned themselves around and found themselves in a better place and now are helping others. So we try to put together a panel of very diverse speakers to talk about each of these very challenging and difficult topics. And they just do a great job. And again, it's through the task group, through our meetings that we have, where everybody sits around and a planning team puts together these events. Again, there's so much talent because this is what these people do for a living. I rely on them so heavily for their expertise, for finding speakers, and helping to put the event together. It's just really great to see how a lot of these events come together.
The suicide awareness and the suicide prevention, I mean, it's a national topic right now, and every community I think does a walk and events like that. But what have you found to be most successful in your suicide prevention efforts that we could share with and start emulating in other communities?
I really like QPR. It's not to take anything away from mental health first aid. That's a great class, but it's challenging for folks to sit for 8 hours, to get the time off to sit for 8 hours. But again, mental health first aid is geared toward the community. It's geared toward behavioral health professionals. But QPR is 90 minutes. They kind of refer to it as the CPR of mental health. It's 90 minutes of just really good information that someone, a lot of times someone will know someone that completed suicide, and then they'll ask themselves, geez, I never saw the warning signs. I can't believe that he or she did this. And QPR is a good class, so you can learn about the warning signs, ask those tough questions of someone that you may come across, and then provide those referrals and make sure that there's follow-up done, that the person does get the help that he or she needs. So again, not to take away anything from any of the other classes, but I think QPR is a real sweet spot for just 90 minutes. Again, we've offered these virtually. We've offered them in person. Both formats work very well. But I think the information in QPR, and there's all kinds of information at the QPR Institute. If people, just search for that, it's a really good class if you haven't taken it.
I actually have not, and we're looking for trainings with Project Open and our grant funds. We have funds set aside for trainings. Mental health first aid is a big one that is done. Now, do you have to train the trainer, the person who conducts it? Can this be done virtually, or do you guys have people qualified to teach this in your area that we could maybe tap into?
Yeah, sure. Gia Washington from Seratoma Center, Inc. She's our liaison to our coalition, and she teaches the vast majority of our classes, including QPR, and she's taught those both in person and virtually as well. So I would imagine you could probably reach out to Gia and find someone. She could probably help you find someone in your area that could teach it. Or maybe she would be willing to teach it virtually as well.
What was the name? Is that Seratoma, you said? Yeah,
it's Sertoma, Seratoma Center, CENTRE, Seratoma Center, Inc. A great one of our partners to our coalition.
I see that. I see two in Chicago. Yeah.
Her office is in Matson, Illinois.
Yep, that's one of them, and then also the other. I will definitely be reaching out. I appreciate that a lot. Great advice. So I know we have a couple other groups. We have motor vehicle safety. We've got emergency preparedness and older adult falls.
Sure.
What's the progress going on over there? How are those doing?
Excellent. Motor vehicle traffic safety. We try to reduce injuries and deaths in the community through different education programs. That could be involving teenagers. They could be involving older adults. So, for example, we partner with AARP, and we offer a class. It's called Smart Driver Course, and we try to do that once or twice a year. And the seniors come in and get a nice refresher on driving and the rules of the road. And oftentimes, I've heard a lot of success stories. If they present their certificate to their insurance agent, they actually get a discount on their premium. which is kind of neat.
Excellent idea.
We came up with a class. It's about 60 minutes or so. It's called Teen Driver, What Every Parent Should Know. And our local high school, our Lincoln Way School District 210, has got a great driver's education program, great driver's ed instructors. But we wanted to even make it better for the parents, because I'm sure a lot of people watching that have teenagers. You ask a teenager, "How was your day?" "Fine." "What did you learn in school?" "Nothing." So a lot of the information wasn't coming home to the parents with regard to driver education.
Mm-hmm.
And in Illinois, as you well know, each teen needs 50 hours practice behind the wheel, and oftentimes parents find themselves in that role of teaching their teenager to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it can be a little challenging. And
Yeah.
this class, Teen Driver, What Every Parent Should Know, offers tips that parents can use to help their teen behind the wheel get those 50 hours in. It also offers great information on the graduated driver's licensing laws in Illinois, which can be very complex. So we have great partners from the Illinois Secretary of State's office, Lincoln Way School District 210, Top Driver, Country Financial is another one of our partners, Rocky Delmano from Country Financial. And they all offer something in the area of teen driver. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of one of our signature programs, for our teen motor vehicle traffic safety task group as well.
I've talked to a lot of community coalitions. I've done a lot of things in motor vehicle safety. It doesn't get brought up very much, but I mean, think about it. You're driving a 5,000-pound killing machine. I think it's pretty important that AARP, safe driving. My father was a physician. He always told me he had it. It was easier to put an older adult in a nursing home than it was to take away their license. Because taking away the license is freedom. But this AARP safe driving class, it sounds like you can keep people's skills sharp and keep them driving safe for as long as possible. So
yeah, it's a class we enjoy offering it, and we enjoy the seniors when they come in and take it. So that's just a couple of the things that we do there. Older adult falls prevention is a great task group. This one, we have a couple staff folks like myself and a young lady from New Lenox Fire Protection District that sit on that task group, and also New Lenox Community Park District. But primarily, this is an all volunteer group, this task group of seniors that have taken the class in the past and really had a passion for helping others. Some of them are retired nurses, some of them are retired educators, just a variety of backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a great job teaching one of our programs. It's an evidence-based older adult falls prevention program called Matter of Balance. Right now, starting in March, we're going to be offering our 44th and 45th class. So we've put well over 500 seniors through this evidence-based older adult falls prevention program, which teaches seniors how to reduce the fear of falling. It talks about, how to ask for help. It talks about all the different things from a medical standpoint, getting eye exams and making sure, things like that are in order. Slips, trips, and falls around the home, reducing those hazards. We get into exercises in the third session. So that's a really good one. We teach another evidence-based program called Fit and Strong,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little bit more robust. Usually after they've completed Matter of Balance, they go into Fit and Strong. That's usually taught over the summer. It's 3 days a week for 90 minutes. And it's a combination of walking and lower extremity exercises, some aerobic activity, and there's also an educational piece that's involved in that as well. And then, again, our big event is called One Fall Could Change It All. We usually do that in the fall, the first day of fall. We thought it would coincide with, National Falls Prevention Week. So, again, we bring a lot of organizations in to offer information to all the seniors that participate. And they offer a lot of health screenings. They offer balance screenings. We usually do some exercise demonstrations. And again, we've had one speaker, we've had a panel of speakers. So again, very, very similar to what we do with a lot of the other task groups, in that this group has its signature programs and its big signature event as well.
I like that. One fall can change it all. So I'm gonna go Firestorm. I'm gonna go back through each of the groups, and I kind of want to understand like what's the major focus or upcoming initiative coming up, or for each one. So if we'll start with the substance use prevention. What's coming up this year?
Same things. We're looking to do the national DEA Take Back initiative. We're going to continue on with our unwanted medication program, which is year round. We're going to continue to offer Narcan training. We're looking to some of our partner organizations like the DEA and others to bring in experts to offer programming on substance use prevention. So,
Have you guys
this year.
any thought to syringe service programs?
We're just starting to look into that now. I get phone calls and emails from time to time on that. Not only people, wanting to make sure that they're properly disposing of them. But I just got a phone call from someone a woman that went through in vitro fertilization and had a lot of needles that she wanted to donate. So we're looking to see if that's even something that we can do. I'm not sure about that. I'm just starting to research that.
Yeah, interesting. What's the hot topic in motor vehicle traffic safety group?
Same thing, kind of some of the things that we talked about. We're hoping we've had a couple setbacks with COVID. Obviously, the seniors, that's a tough population. AARP, we're waiting for them to open up and offer the in-person classes again. We'll probably be doing another teen driver, what every parent should know. Another program that we really like, it's not going to be until the fall, but we partner with the high school and we do a senior vehicle winter inspection. And we get the seniors' vehicles ready for winter. We partner with Napa Auto Parts. They do all our shop supplies, and then an automotive technology instructor and his students do a great job. They do about a 15-point inspection on all the cars, and then we get to visit with the seniors. It takes about 15 minutes, and then they come out and tell them all the things going on with their car. So that's another thing that we're looking forward to this year.
That is a really, really nice idea. I like that. A lot of people don't, my wheels wobbling. Well, it's because it's chock full with snow right now. Don't drive fast. So I like that idea a lot. What's the hot topic in suicide prevention this year?
Suicide prevention, we're looking to do more QPR classes. I think we've got a QPR class in March. We've got a mental health first aid class in April. We've got a Safe Talk in May. And then we're looking ahead to a Pathway to Hope and Healing, trying to put that event together as well. And then we've got a great Marie Goulet from our new Lenox School District 122. She's done it 2 years in a row now, and she does an event. It's had a couple different names to it this last year, but it's usually in October, November, and it's talking about surviving COVID during the time of the holidays. A lot of the holidays can be very challenging for a lot of people.
Right.
And then, during COVID, it can be even more challenging. So I hope that she can do a presentation with the same theme, but she can drop the COVID later this year. So, but it's nice. Again, we have such a talented group. There might be things that are trending or things that are of importance to the community. And these folks are so talented, they can just put together presentations and present to the community.
Yeah, I nailed it. Domestic violence prevention. What's coming up?
We're going to work with the schools. We talked about, the schools do a great job. They've got some great programs in place during the day. But, when the kids get out of school in the afternoon and they're out in the community, we want to try to do as much as we can to prevent, any domestic violence involving juveniles. So we're working on putting a program together this spring, piggyback on a couple other things that the schools are doing. And then, working our way into the summer, and then hopefully doing another version of that one speak up, speak out. One thing, speak up, speak out.
Excellent. You didn't emergency preparedness. I think that group was we have at the hospital we have an emergency preparedness coordinator dedicated to that. So I know that's huge. How do you guys run that at the community level, and what's coming up this year?
Sure. So, Stop the Bleed. Actually, we talked about that before we
Yeah.
were coming on air. Stop the Bleed, a bleeding control program. That's one of our big programs that fall under the Emergency Preparedness Task Group. We're teaching that tonight here in the community. Surviving an active shooter event is another one that falls under the Emergency Preparedness Task Group. A lot of severe weather stuff. We partner with the National Weather Service.
Makes
Uh,
sense.
that's one of our accolades, that we're a storm ready community. We do a lot of training out in the community with regard to severe weather. So we put on a big annual event where it's a severe weather spotter training, but it's also a big health and safety expo. So we bring in about 50 organizations, everything to do with emergency preparedness, severe weather, like a touch a truck component, where a lot of our organizations will bring in fire trucks and police cars and
Mhm.
SWAT trucks and all kinds of stuff for the kids to come out and look at, with the hopes that they'll come inside and check out the event and actually attend the spotter training. And again, we've done this in years past where we've had, 3, 4, or 500 people in the auditorium at the high school teaching severe weather spotter
Wow.
training. So that's something that we're really hoping that we can do this year.
Yeah, and I just can't be. I just the memes of there's a tornado or severe weather, and there's the dad sitting on the porch watching it.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've always thought to myself is if we ever had to rush down to the basement because of a tornado, I mean, do we have snacks, food, bedding for my daughter,
Sure.
things like that. Emergency preparedness, I think, often gets overlooked, but all it takes is one emergency to after that, then you're always going to be prepared. So I like a lot of the activities going on over there. And then finally, the older adults falls prevention. What's the hot topic this year?
Right. Some of the things that I talked about, we're offering our 44th and 45th Matter of Balance class. We're looking to teach Fit and Strong this summer. We've got a summer walking program called Seniors with Soul. And then also, just last summer, the new Lenox Community Park District opened an outdoor fitness court. So we're trying to work with the park district now and some of their fitness instructors to try to adapt one of those classes that would be geared towards seniors, where it could be helpful to them to prevent falls. So something that would focus on strength and balance and lower extremities, things that they would need to keep them, from falling. So, and then this fall again, we'll do One Fall Could Change It All. And it's just again, it's a great group of seniors primarily that help us. We couldn't teach the number of classes that we do if it
Mhm.
weren't for all of our wonderful volunteers.
It takes a village, to be honest with you. How's the hospital involved in the falls prevention one? I feel like they should be interested in that.
They're one of our partners. We have a partner with Silver Cross Hospital. Again, the park district, the fire department is great because they can give us the data. They let us know where things are at with fall related injuries. And again, it's challenging because with a senior population and with COVID going on for as long as it has, a lot of the seniors unfortunately have not been out and have been active like they should be, or we'd hope them to be. So fall
Right.
injuries are kind of an area that we're looking at right now. And I
I think that.
know you and I talked before about kind of all of this together. What makes a safe community, and a lot of times people look at it from the perspective of simply crime numbers, crime data,
Mhm.
uniform crime reports, and that is a really good measure. And crime and violence, that's super important, and we work really hard on that as well. But all of these other areas are very important too. Older adult falls, suicide prevention, substance use prevention, traffic
Yeah.
safety, domestic violence. So when we look at it from a safe community perspective, we're looking at it well beyond just crime data.
No, it definitely is a very holistic view. I think what you have built could be a framework for many other communities, which I think is the perfect segue to what would be your guidance or your recommendations if you someone a concerned citizen is out there and hearing, "Man, I want something like this in my community." What do you recommend they do?
I would get a hold of the municipality, and again, the way our coalition is formed and some of the other coalitions, it depends on what you define as a community. So for our safe community, it's our village of New Lenox. but there are other safe communities that are made up of. There's a safe community that's a university. There's a safe community that has 3 counties that partner and work together. So in our area, we have what we call the Lincoln Way area, which is the village of New Lenox and Manhattan and Frankfort and Mokina. So theoretically, we could all 4 communities could get together and partner and make a safe community. But the partners that both of us have talked about are key players, key stakeholders, just bringing people together from both the public and private sector, and getting people together and talking and working, toward the same common goal of reducing preventable injuries and deaths in the community. I really think is the key. And you'll find out that there's just so much talent, and there's so many great relationships that are made. All of the people that are on the coalition, I consider to be my friends. I enjoy our meetings, whether they're task group meetings or our coalition meetings, our events. I enjoy spending time with these people. They're very talented, super nice people, and it's just a lot of fun. We bring fun to a very challenging and difficult topic.
And the key there is passion, because our coalition kind of locally got started, but it needed a grant to get started. You had to have $1 million at the table, and everyone came to the table to figure out how do we spend this and how do we make it valuable. What I'm hearing is you guys got together with not necessarily a grant or some big pot of cash, but just we're passionate, we care about this issue. What do you care about? What do you care about? What do you care about? All right, and let's go and work on it. So I think that would be the key, and I like your advice starting with the city level, because or the municipality level, and seeing what interest there is to form and support a coalition, because you need that kind of the backbone or that supporting lead agency to get it off the ground.
For sure.
Well, you know what, I think I've taken more notes in this meeting than I have in any other meeting. I've got the save talk, the question per se referral, all these different things. You guys have really laid out a great format. If you wouldn't mind sharing that newsletter with me, afterwards, we can maybe post a link to them, when this video gets posted, so folks can kind of look back and see what all has been done. There's just so many great programs and so many great initiatives you guys have got rolling. I'm surprised that you're able to keep track of it all, but it sounds like you got a really good team on your end.
I do, and I'm very fortunate to have so many good people. Like I said, it's just these are the experts in all these different areas, and when we sit down and we have a meeting, we talk about upcoming events, and the first for everything is the most challenging. The first time you offer anything, the first time we created Teen Drive, or what every parent should know, or any of the events that I talked about, the first offering is always the most challenging. Mm-hmm. And then once you've done it once and you have your press release done and you've got your instructors lined up, then the next time and the next time and the next time, it just gets easier.
Word of mouth, it becomes more well attended. I mean, we've had a couple events first time and not very well attended, or maybe expectation wise you wanted more, and it's easy to get disheartened. So that's good advice over there, that they just keep persevering, keep going, and kind of if you build it, they will come type deal.
For sure.
Then any last minute closing thoughts, words of wisdoms for anyone out there listening?
No, I would just again just be mindful of we're living in challenging times, and there's a lot of different things. All of our task groups, they complement each other. If you're having substance use issues, then it bleeds over, if you will, to suicide prevention, mental health, behavioral health issues. And a lot of times that can affect seniors and our older adult falls prevention. So the work that we do in each of our task groups are, each of them has its own respective mission, but we find more times than not that it does affect different areas. And that's why it's just nice that our task groups work so well together.
Yeah, and I think what you said earlier was that everything is rooted in data, right? You look at injury data, you work with fire departments, police departments. I'm assuming you probably get some data from the hospitals and behavioral health institutions to help guide the decision making. And I think that's probably the best way to close is find the data. In this video, you've listed a number of great resources that you can start with, see what the issues are, get a group together, and go tackle them.
For sure. That's great. I wish you the best of luck, or any others, that want to put together a coalition and do similar work.
If someone reaches out, Dan, I hope you don't mind. I might put them in touch with you for any advice. And I'd like to continue to stay plugged into what you guys do. So please continue to send information and events. I would like to attend every event you guys put on this year just to keep learning and see that template for success.
That sounds great. I'd be happy to.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And for everyone out there, hope you learned something new and hope you are motivated to start building a safer community in your area. Thanks so much.